Welcome to the Healthpreneur podcast. My name is Uriel Kame, New York Times bestselling author, former professional athlete, and founder of Healthpreneur, the world's leading company helping health and fitness experts start and scale high-end coaching businesses. If you want to attract more clients, learn how to convert them without feeling salesy, and deliver an amazing program for them on the back end, if you want to be inspired by what others just like you have gone through and how you can do the same no matter what life throws your way, then you are in the right place, because every single week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're going to be bringing you the best to help you take your knowledge and expertise to the next level with your health or fitness coaching business. And if you enjoy what you see and hear and would like to take your business to the next level, then I invite you to check out our free online training over at healthpreneurgroup.com/training. And for now, let's get into today's episode. What's up? Welcome back to the show. Another client deep dive today with our good friends and client, Kate Vudelich. What's up?
Hey, Yuri, how's it going?
Good. Did I actually butcher your last name there?
You did, Vudelich. But I wasn't going to, Vudelich. It's okay. Vudelich. I still love you.
My bad. It's all
okay.
Good. I really pride myself on making sure I don't butcher people's names. So I apologize for that, because I'm like, did I just say that out loud? Anyways,
it's okay.
So as you know, the purpose of these episodes is really to serve you. Like whatever you need help with, we're going to go deep into that topic, and hopefully our viewers and listeners get some great value out of this. And if you guys don't, then hey man, what can I do? You gotta extract nuggets out of these conversations. So Kate, talk to me about what we can get some clarity around and move forward from.
I think it's mostly around mindset kind of stuff and playing the long game versus that instant gratification of the short game. Like, I've been in the space online for quite a few years now. And I think, like we were saying in some of the earlier calls that you've done with people, is like getting that mindset of long-term versus just those short-term, press the button and get the reward kind of thing.
So give our viewers and listeners a bit of context, because talk to people how you started online and what you've been doing for the last couple of years before we started working together.
Sure. So I started out, I think, in 2014, and in the beginning it was mostly selling ebooks, videos, and I kind of did that for probably 4-ish or so years and had some good success, but I guess I never reached that level of success that I always wanted to reach. So it was quite frustrating, I think, to see the changes in the industry over time, but also just not have that same impact on people. Like, I have a training business here in the city as well. I'm in San Francisco, and obviously I'm not from San Francisco. I'm from Australia. But
this whole time I thought that was a San Francisco accent.
Right. And sometimes I sound like I'm from New York sometimes, like certain words I say, which totally messes up people as well.
Sure.
So I was mostly selling ebooks, doing affiliate offers, so doing third-party offers of selling other people's stuff as well. And it's just something that didn't really work with me, like something didn't sit right. So I think after doing this for so many years, I kind of got burnt out from the whole scenario and ended up doing more in-person training, which I love doing. I love coaching clients in person and having that interaction with people. And so I think once we started working together, it was like getting this whole webinar up and running and going. And yeah, I delayed it because I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. And I think, you dragged me through the mud to the other side, which is exactly why hiring a coach is good. This is what it's for. And so that's where I landed in terms of the webinar. And now I'm doing more group coaching and coaching of clients via, phone and via video cam and that kind of stuff, which I totally love doing. So it's definitely been a big pivot and shift in my business that just feels more right. Because I think as well, getting started in the online space, it's a lot of selling. You have to write a lot, and that's marketing in general. But I was used to doing it in person. I wasn't used to doing, writing sales copy. I had to teach myself how to do that. And I think it's something that health professionals just think, oh, I don't do that, I don't like it. But you have to like it. Like, I love getting on the phone with potential clients. Yes, it's scary in the beginning, but then it's just a consultation to help somebody. You have a chance to like dig in and chat about what they're doing, give them some advice, not talk too much, as we all know from the learning of how to do these calls, but it's just great. the right people end up getting on the call for the most part, and you then have an opportunity to help them, whether they actually join the program or not. It's something that I've just become used to, I think, in terms of a mindset, like being okay with someone saying no, because I don't like when people say no to me, to be honest with you.
Who does, right? Who does?
I don't know, but it used to really bother me when someone would say no. Now I'm kind of like, okay, no, they're probably just not a good fit, or it's meant to be. I hate that saying, like, oh, it'll happen if it's supposed to, or whatever, like kind
I'm
of
going to meditate on it. And
yeah, I'm going to manifest this and rub a crystal. Sorry, anyone who does that. But I just, I don't mean to offend people who love crystals. I have crystal candles in my house, but I think I'm not like rubbing them, people who carry them around. Anyway.
yeah, no, I get it. Our house is like full of crystals. So if we lost any spiritual viewers or listeners here, hey, listen,
Yes.
I'm talking to pretty spiritual people anyways. We're just poking fun.
Exactly. I know. Exactly. So, yeah, I'm more of someone who likes to get on the phone and chat to people and just be real with people as well. And I think since setting up that perfect client thing, what's it called? Perfect pipeline. I don't know
the thing that brings clients in.
The criteria, Yuri.
Okay. Sorry, yeah. Perfect client
so
criteria.
having a list of who the perfect client is, it just makes it easier to say yes or no. Like, for example, the other day, someone slipped through the cracks because, again, I don't work with vegans, and not because I dislike vegans. It's just I don't have a plan that will help you to build muscle. And if you have one, let me know, because I'd be really interested to try it out. But it's just not the type of clients I've ever worked with. So I really 100% can't guarantee that they'll get results if they follow my plan. So I think the number one thing is just having that criteria to say yes or no. It just makes it easier to get clients.
Yeah, I love that. It's so good because imagine running a physical establishment like a restaurant saying we don't allow certain types of people into the restaurant. Like, you would be shut down and sent to jail, right? But in a coaching business, you have to be selective like that, because it's not about like, I don't like these types of people. It's about, I know who I can get results for. And if you're not that type of person, I have nothing against you. It's just, I know that I can't help you get a result. And I think both parties, it's valuable for the client as well as yourself. So thank you for bringing that up. You mentioned, so one of the reasons I was so adamant about you doing more of the high ticket coaching was because I knew how much you loved coaching people and training people and speaking with people. With that said, not everyone, if people are happy hiding behind the computer and writing sales copy and ebooks, that's totally fine. But I think you have to just be honest about what really fulfills you, right? You talked about getting better, like on the phone and joining the conversations. I tell people there's two things. It's either you get better at doing that, or you don't do phone sales and you become the best copywriter on the planet, which I think is a little bit tougher, and it's tough to sell because you were selling what, ebooks, memberships for what, $10 to $50?
Yeah, and I think the price erosion too of the market and the industry over the years that I saw it. And I think just the burnout of the people on people's lists. It was great if you were creating a new product all the time, but it was really draining to create a new product. It was like, okay, great, we can do a quick launch, and it's not really that quick, and it is a rush, and it's stressful. And it's just stressful. It really was just, is it going to hit the numbers? Are people going to be happy with it? And then trying to sell it on cold traffic, like on Facebook ads. Well, that was just a nightmare, because you have to just expect to lose $1,000 straight off the bat, and then maybe have data or not. Like it was just a roller coaster ride. And I think that was terrible for my mental health, to be honest with you.
Because like, you have to put in to now work with one client. You have one or two conversations. You tend to enroll about half of the people you speak to almost. And do you find that to be easier, more enjoyable than trying to sell the latest ebook every single month to hundreds of potential customers to even make just the same revenue, right? Just on that, like that one client that you can enroll, the amount of work that would have to go into selling hundreds of an ebook to make the same revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where, reinventing like yourself and positioning of yourself really is something really important, because I was really anti the whole webinar thing. And you know this, like, it took some time for me to really like get on board with it. But like I've said, it was one of the best things I've done for my business, mostly because I feel more fulfilled when I do it. Like I'm actually helping somebody and I have that contact with them on the phone or via webcam to just see their progress. And hey, people drop off, but it's the same with in-person training. And I think it's just having that contact versus just sending someone another ebook. Because there are people who do the workouts, don't get me wrong, but you don't have that feedback that keeps you motivated. Sometimes you're like, is anyone watching? Is anyone listening? Is anyone hearing this? And when you actually get on the phone and people resonate with your message, it just feels like you're having a greater impact on people's lives.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. One of the things that's, oh my God, I just completely drew a blank. This is embarrassing. I will come back to that in a couple minutes when it comes back. But let's talk about the kind of the long-term thinking versus the quick fix mindset. What specifically kind of is your challenge with that right now?
I think it's the idea of investing money to get a return later.
Sure.
I think from where I started out, it was more like, okay, offer someone a really high commission of the sales. You'll make X percent, which is normally, now it's like no percent, but you'll sell people on the back end of the funnel, which by the way, takes a lot of traffic and a lot of time to optimize, which was something that I just never had the patience for. And didn't have the traffic either at certain times to really get some good data. So I think it's thinking long-term, like, hey, how much, like in terms of risk, how much is a good amount to invest without, like when to stop and start, like the amount you spend in order to get that return. I think that's the thing that I have the greatest trouble with right now is the fear of loss, the fear of, okay, the risk I'm taking, is this going to pay off? Is this like gambling on the internet, which it kind of is, to be honest with you.
Initially, maybe, but once you have your critical numbers and you know your numbers, things start to become more predictable, right?
Oh, absolutely. In the beginning, though, it really is kind of like, okay, what's this interest group that I can test? And how much am I willing to put down to possibly not see any results? Yeah. But I think it's shifting that thinking across it I struggle with pretty often. When it comes to the long game.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that because we do speak with a lot of people who voice the same concerns. So the way I think of this is kind of like black or white, right? You've got one side where you build out your perfect client pipeline. You know you're going to be charging premium prices for people to work with you in more of a group coaching program. And as you can, well, one of the things I was going to mention earlier was you actually saw this too, because you have a list of several thousand people. And you had offered your higher ticket coaching to existing customers, and you found that even to those people who are paying you for the ebooks, customers, they were not enrolling in the high ticket coaching. Is that right?
Absolutely. It was actually harder, and I think it wasn't demoralizing because I knew the people on the calls, but there were definitely people who were like, "Oh, I have no money," right from the get-go, and I'm kind of like, "Okay, let me help you," because I'm probably too nice to people sometimes, but like I wanted to help them out. It wasn't like I was getting on the call to sell somebody, but it was straight off the bat. Like, I don't have money for this, but can you help me? And
I think that's such a great thing for people to understand, because the thinking forever has been offer your free lead magnet, then the tripwire, then the $47 core product, then the $97 whatever. And it's like eventually these people will buy something more from you down the road. But as you've seen, and as we've seen, that's not the way it works. You attract a very specific type of buyer persona at different price points. And I direct response for years, it was like, if they give you $1, it's as good as if they give you 1,000. And I completely disagree with that because it's not the same. It really is not the same. And you found it easier to enroll people from your Facebook ads who don't even know you on the phone into a higher ticket program based on your pipeline and based on the fact that they've bought into your philosophy and so forth. And that's just a great example of the two scenarios. So the two scenarios, as I was alluding to earlier, was you master this one process, which is getting people who don't know you to go through your pipeline, get on your webinar, buy into or not your webinar. For those who do, they fill out an application, you get on the phone with them, and if they're a good fit, they enroll in your program for several $1,000s and you transform their life. The flip side is if you don't do that, the flip side is you need a massive amount of volume at low-end product. right? You need whatever it is, 47, 97 bucks, whatever it is. And you need a massive amount of volume to make that work. Now, we both know mutual friends in our space who have very successful businesses doing that, 8-figure businesses, but they have openly talked about how for them, they have, in some cases, 3 to 6 months in the negative before they break even on those customers. It's like they're willing to go in the hole on a $27 ebook for 6 months so that at the 6 month and 1 day mark, they're now break even. Now, I don't want to run that. I don't want to run that kind of business. There's very little margin. There's little wiggle room. You have to be a maniac about every little optimization and conversion in your funnel. You have to know your metrics. You become like an investment banker. It's just insane. So that's the one option. That's what a lot of people don't realize that's going to have to go into that. As we talked about, price erosion is a very, very big deal in today's day and age. And we're seeing all sorts of free plus shipping offers. It's very tough to make information products sell the way they used to 5 to 10 years ago. And especially if you're buying ads. If you're using Facebook or YouTube or anything else to buy ads, the cost of those ads has only gone up. It's only going to continue going up. So if the ad cost is going up, but product prices are going down, you're going to get squeezed out of that market very, very quickly unless you are an amazing marketer and are able to tolerate risk and really lose money for several months. That's the reality of the info business as it stands at the end of 2018, 2019. So the flip side is, okay, you deploy your perfect client pipeline and you're saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to set some ads up. I'm going to get them running on Facebook. And as you alluded to, it's kind of like gambling initially. It kind of is, because you don't know what's going to work, right? You're going to test an audience. You're going to test this audience. You're going to test this ad to this audience, this ad to another audience, and you don't know exactly what's going to work. So the way I like to approach this and what I'd recommend is you look at yourself and you say, okay, I'm going to deploy this, and here's what I'm going to get from one client. They're going to be worth X. I am willing to spend however much money to collect data from Facebook. So maybe it's, all right, I'm going to spend $1,000 and we're going to see what happens. And from that $1,000, we're going to get some initial feedback. We're going to figure out which audience works better than the others. If it's too much, we're going to turn those off. If these ones are good, we're going to scale those a little bit. And initially, it is a little bit of a gamble. So you have to be okay. You have to figure out how much money am I okay giving to Facebook to get data. And when I say giving to Facebook, I'm like, how much money are you okay not getting back, right? And that depends. Like every person's going to be different. Some people are like, oh, I'm going to give them $10,000 and I'm going to know my numbers in 2 weeks or whatever it is. Other people are like, okay, I can spend 500 or 1,000. But understand that that initial investment isn't necessarily guaranteed because you don't know. Like you don't know what your conversions are going to be like. You don't know what the metrics through your funnel are going to look like. All that stuff comes with time and with ad spend. Now, once you get closer to starting to collect data, like you're in a position where you're starting to get some really good data, like really good numbers on your calls booked, getting good enrollments. Now you have to look at, okay, the question is like, is this going to be a consistent trend, right? If I'm paying $1,000 to acquire a $3,000 client, is that going to be consistent, or is it going to be $500 for a $3,000 client, or is it going to be $3,000 for a $3,000 client? You'll only know that after you spend a bit of money and have that consistent data coming through. And then honestly, I think it's just a matter of having faith in the process and in the numbers, because we know right now that there's two numbers we look at and that you obviously look at as well, which is your cost per webinar registrant and your cost per call booked, and then obviously our like return on ad spend. Once you know that, like once you know here's the upper limit I'm willing to spend for a webinar registrant and the upper limit I'm willing to spend to get someone on the phone, now you know, like you can test all sorts of different things. You could give your Facebook ads management to an agency if you ever wanted to and say, do whatever you have to do, just hit these metrics. Because those are kind of, it's almost like in investing with stocks. Like you have, I don't invest in stocks, so I don't even know what I'm talking about here, but you have like a stop loss. I don't even know what it's called. Like, you know, when you say this, if the stock goes below this number, like sell it. If it goes above this, buy more. It's the same thing. It's like if this audience or this ad campaign goes above this, just turn it off. If it goes below this, just keep going. If I'm paying way too much for a call booked, shut it down. And that's where you want to get into. So it almost becomes what starts off as a little bit of a gamble, thinking to yourself, okay, how much money am I willing to lose to get more certainty and more data, to the point where you have those certain numbers. And then it's like, well, how fast or how big do I want to scale this? So does that make sense, Kate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, what you were saying just there about investing in data and getting numbers and I think it's just knowing like what you're willing to spend and not willing to spend. I think this comes back from, my early days in the online space, was like, I want to see results right now. Like if I put an ad out and all of a sudden it's not doing well, I'm just impatient. So I guess that's another one of the things I need to work on. My patience.
Well, the remedy to patience is more ad spend, right? But then there's that. It's like, okay, well,
the risk,
I'm super impatient. I'm going to spend $10,000 today and get a lot of data. But is that going to work out? I don't know, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if that's going to help me.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, like what we recommend with everyone is start small, scale slowly, right? That's the surefire way not to go broke, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it's a very valid concern, because Facebook advertising, you can lose your shirt very quickly if you don't know what you're doing. You're doing great. A lot of people think that they're not going to do Facebook advertising because they don't know how to do it. It's risky. So then the question is, well, what else are you going to do? Right? What is the alternative to attracting clients? And I tell people, like, the number one way to grow your income is to grow your expenses. And it doesn't make sense until it does make sense. Because we talked about this in LA. Like, if you don't grow your expenses, how can you grow your income? And the only way is through effort. So either you say to yourself, okay, I'm willing to effort my way and just plow through in terms of my time, my energy. I'm going to post on social media 1,000 times a day, but it's not scalable and it's not predictable. So, everything has an opportunity cost. There's obviously a pro and a con to everything we do. And we just find, like, I really believe the holy grail for any business is to be able to go into any market you're in and know if you spend X number of dollars, you can acquire a client at a profit. If you can do that, that's like writing your own lottery ticket. And I think most people don't want to do that because they're scared. They're uncertain of how to make it work. And obviously that's why we work with our clients on this stuff, because it's, if you can get to this point, and it might take a couple days or a couple weeks, but once you're at that point where you confidently know I'm spending $500 to attract a $3,000 or $5,000 client, that's like, you've won the lottery. Now it's like, how much can I duplicate that? It's now work, instead of one client, it's 10 clients or 100 clients. And like I said, like you guys in the health and fitness space, the scalability of what you can do, the sheer size of the audience is massive, right? And then it's just a matter of how big do you want to go?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I agree with you. I think the switch of like growing your expenses to grow your income, that's been a huge mindset shift. Because even in my online, in my in-person training, it was mostly referrals. Yeah. Like it's because it's just the easiest way, but it's like growing it through, willpower and force, like effort versus through something strategic. So,
so I've put together this model called the coaching continuum, and it's basically, it reflects 7 phases in business, or 7 stages of business. And what a lot of people are doing is they're doing things in the earlier stages of business that they should only be doing when they're scaling. For example, they're relying on content marketing to drive new business, right? And I think content's amazing. Like, you should definitely be prolific with it at the right stage. But when you're starting out, or when you're building up your I guess, stability in terms of income and so forth, the only thing you got to focus on is making money, right? Getting new clients coming in, getting you paying you money, and making a profit so you can continue to grow and scale. And that's a great place to be in, because initially, if things are set up properly, the profit's actually pretty good. But as you start to scale and grow your business, you have to understand that profit, percentage-wise, actually goes down a bit, because your expenses might go up in terms of team members you bring on, other things you're now doing. So for instance, a lot of people get stuck in this, what I call the 6-figure plateau, where let's say about $500,000 in revenue, life is great. They've got like 60% profit margins. They're balling, right? They're like ballers because they have all this profit. And then when they start to scale, things start to change because now they have to hire people. They start looking at their balance sheets or their P&Ls and they're like, hold on, I went from 60% profit to 20% profit. What the hell's going on? Why am I doing this? But what we have to remember is that 20% profit of 10 million is $2 million, right? 60% profit of 500,000 is, I don't know, $300,000. That's a very, very big difference, right? So we have to remember that as the business grows and scales, expenses beyond client acquisition are going to grow as well. But as long as the volume of income increases, the gross amount of your profit increases too. Mm-hmm. And does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so again, it comes down to really thinking about what type of business do you want to build? And like, there's nothing wrong with either answer. It's like some people just want to build a comfortable business where it's them and maybe a virtual assistant and they're making a couple $100,000 a year, good profit margins. That's totally fine. And then there's others who want to build something a little more substantial, who want to build more of a team around them with more infrastructure, a little bit more complexity, but still can free them up dramatically. And that's the big difference too, is that when you are working things yourself and maybe with one VA, is you are the cog in the wheel. And in a coaching business, this can really burn you out because you're doing all the calls, you're doing all the coaching. So the alternative is, okay, let's build this up. Let's bring on more coaches. Let's leverage you and clone you kind of so that you have a lot more freedom. So you almost trade profit for freedom as you scale the business, right? And that's a position that I'm in now with Healthpreneur is I don't do our enrollment calls anymore. But initially I did. I was doing up to 7 hours a day of enrollment calls. You can't do that forever. Like you lose your voice, you'll burn out. But it's nice to get to the point where you're like, man, I just brought in like $30,000 in one day. That's cool. Now I've got a bit of wiggle room. How can I bring someone in to now help me with that? And if you're selling ebooks for $10, that's very tough to do. Like unless you're selling massive amounts of volume. So I don't even know where I'm going with this discussion, but I think thinking like an investor really helps when you're thinking of growing something great. And I really believe that everyone has to decide what path they want to take with their business. Not everyone has to build, an amazing dominating company, but just be realistic about where you want to go and what is necessary at each step to get you there. And what are some of the things to look out for at those different stages? Because otherwise you might get blindsided and not really know what you're getting into. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what's been like most useful from our discussion so far for you? What's been a kind of an aha or a takeaway?
I think definitely thinking more like an investor, like exactly what you just said, thinking more like an investor in the business versus a gambler in the business. Yeah. So that's, and obviously I think needing to increase your expenses in order to increase the amount of revenue that you can bring into the business.
Yeah.
That's been something that I'm trying to just work on my mindset based around, and then knowing, hey, the risk I take is just dealing with mitigating the risk, like emotionally to some degree. Sure. Managing to ride the roller coaster without too many ups and downs.
Totally. I mean, this is totally normal. Like everyone going through this process is going to go through these emotions. Like, oh my God, I got my ad running. It's $100 a day. Why is nothing happening? And then all of a sudden, like the next day, it's like floodgates open, and some days it doesn't. And some weeks are higher, some weeks are lower. It's cyclical, right? Like, like the world is, like nature is. But it's a very interesting journey because you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about what are some of the mindset blocks, the limiting beliefs. Just to clarify for the viewers and listeners, when I say increase your expenses to make more revenue, what I'm saying is increase the amount of money you're putting into advertising, because advertising and people are the fastest way to grow your business. So you're going to get to a point where, as we talked about, you can't do everything yourself. So you're going to have to invest in other coaches, other people to work with you. And in so doing, they will move the needle forward for your business. And if you are of the opinion and mindset that you want to do everything yourself, you can't delegate or have other people do stuff for you, you just have to understand that that's okay. But with that comes an opportunity cost, which is your freedom, right? And you essentially build a business that you're a slave to. And if you're okay with that, that's fine. But you have to understand, if you want freedom, you have to trade some profit, and you have to increase your expenses, build your team, put more money into ads to build up that brand value, or just getting in front of more people with your advertising. Because there's a very big difference between, for instance, if we spend $1,000 on Facebook ads and we attract and enroll one client, okay, well, that's great. Well, how do we now grow our revenue? Well, we have to ask ourselves, well, how do we spend $10,000? Because if the numbers held out the same, if we invested 1,000 to make 10, for instance, great. How do we invest 10,000 to make 100,000? Because that's the fastest way to grow your income, is you just spend more on advertising, assuming you know your numbers, and all of a sudden you've 10x'd your revenue in this specific theoretical case. And again, I was just thinking about, you have to, if you don't do that, the only other alternative is manual sheer force and energy and time. And if you're okay with that, that's fine, but it's going to take you a lot longer to where you want to get to. So.
Yeah, I feel like I was on that train for quite some time,
Yeah.
Particularly just like in my training business, and it burns you out. It really does.
Yeah, totally. So has this been a helpful conversation for you, Kate?
Yeah, super awesome. Yeah, really good.
Cool. So what is your action step from this discussion?
It's increasing the amount I'm spending on my advertising.
Cool. And just guys, just so you know, like Kate's numbers, they're pretty good, right? It's not like you're in the negative. So you're at a point where you can, push a little bit more into it. We're not saying just throw money and hope for the best. Like once you have your numbers dialed in, then you can intelligently, move a little bit faster forward. So, okay, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun for me. And I'm sure our listeners and viewers, hopefully you guys got a lot of really good insights from this, because as you guys know, everything's up here between the ears, right? Once you've got the strategy, once you know what to do, it's removing those blocks. It's kind of thinking bigger. It's getting around other people who are playing at a bigger level too. And sometimes just borrowing their beliefs, right? Like borrow their courage, borrow the fact that, man, this has worked out for someone else. This can work for me as well. And I think that's why we want to create this incubation that's why I love group coaching, right? Because now you're surrounded by other people who are doing big things, and it's not just one person with you one-on-one. And I think it's just a great environment to be in with, for us and our clients, but also for you guys and your clients too. So, Kate, thank you so much for being awesome, for being with us and openly sharing about what you're going through. And then hopefully we've given you some good insights to move forward fast.
Sure. Sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Yuri. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on this episode of the Healthpreneur podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, here's what I'd like you to do right now. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Healthpreneur podcast on iTunes. And while you're there, leave us a rating or review. It helps us get in front of more people and change more lives. And if you're ready to start or scale your health or fitness coaching business and want to start getting in front of more people, working with them at a higher level without trading time for money, then I invite you to check out our free 7-figure health business blueprint training, totally free right now. And you can do so at healthpreneurgroup.com/training. For now, thank you so much for joining us. Continue to be great, do great, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.